You're listening to Three Kitchens, a member of the Alberta Podcast Network. Locally grown, community supported. Join your hosts, Aaron Walker, Sarah Somasundaram, and Heather Dyer, to talk all about home cooking.
This episode is brought to you by Park Power, your friendly local utility providers in Alberta, offering internet, electricity, and natural gas with low rates, awesome service, and profit sharing with local charities.
Winter is coming, and energy usage for all Albertans will be increasing. So now is a great time for listeners to look at their utility bills and ensure they are on the best plan. Albertans have a choice of utility providers.
Park Power is happy to provide free, no-obligation comparisons. If you decide to switch providers, it's easy, and you can feel good knowing you are supporting a local business and helping to give back to our communities with your utility bill. Learn more at parkpower.ca.
Sarah Somasundaram.
I'm Aaron Walker. I'm Heather Dyer.
What's happening today?
Suddenly it feels like, what are we doing?
What are we doing? So we're sitting in Eau Claire at the CIFF Festival, so Calgary
International Film
Film
Festival.
Sorry, I'm a little frazzled because this is such a different venue for us.
We're not at home in our closets, except Aaron.
My environment hasn't changed. I've zoomed in because I'm still stuck in my four walls, but soon to be freed.
Soon to be freed. But
That's right.
You're here with us in a way because we can see you.
Exactly. You can see my face and I can only see your eyes. So it's kind of
Yes.
Yeah, this is the first time we're doing a podcast with masks on.
That's right. Hopefully our words are clear.
So we had the special privilege of viewing Julia.
It is a documentary chronicling the life of Julia Child, who I think needs no introduction, certainly not to people who listen to a food podcast.
Yeah.
I would think, unless you're just our family who feel obligated to listen and you don't actually care about food and you don't know who Julia Child is.
Thank you, family.
Yeah, that's possible. Betsy West and Julie Cohen.
And they were the directors of Julia. And you can actually look, Aaron, you found a little YouTube video on them speaking about Julia, and they had a warning. They gave us a warning before we watched the movie. They said, if you watch the movie, make sure that you have lots of food around because you're going to be really, really hungry. And what did I do? What did you guys do? Did any of us listen?
Yes, I watched it after dinner. Well, I don't know
You
what
watched
your
it
problem
after dinner, but she said to have food around.
was. No, I wasn't hungry. Plus, okay, let's just also say that Sarah made me this really good drink.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And I was not hungry because I was on my way to Happy Land.
I gave her more of the drink that I made because I took one taste and I'm like, oh boy, this is strong. Maybe I'll just give Heather a little more. And oops.
What was
And was
in
there
that
any
drink?
warning included in that, Sarah? Or did you just
No,
drop it and say, enjoy?
I didn't even know what was in it.
Well, you'll know now.
Yeah.
You'll know why you guys were fussed. So, Julia Childs, let's talk a little bit about her. Like, she was the French chef, the French cook.
But she was American.
So she brought French cooking into America and she made it very popular. And she had a TV show and...
Yes.
And she came in at a time when she was late in life.
Late. Well, I mean, she was in her 50s. Let's not call that late. Aaron.
She was not the spring chicken that most TV women were at the time.
Right.
And
She was not petite and blonde.
no.
Yeah.
No, she was very tall.
Yeah, she was incredibly tall. I didn't really realize how truly tall she was until watching the documentary, seeing her in the kitchen and with other people.
She was a bit of an imposing figure, right?
Yeah, and so that's why I made the cocktail. The cocktail it's a French cocktail.
Ooh.
It's called Classic French 75. And you guys can get the recipe at cookieandkate.com.
Okay.
It's really easy. It's 1.5 ounces of gin. So buy your gin. We got our gin from Eau Claire Distillery, which is a Alberta distillery. Really good gin. Really, I'm not a fan of gin, and I really like their gin. And then 3/4 ounce of fresh lemon juice, 3/4 ounce of simple syrup, and then 2 to 3 ounces of chilled champagne on top of
And you can bet she put 3 ounces in my glass. I'm quite sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So
There
that's
you go.
the drink part. But let's keep
sounds
talking about
fantastic.
the movie.
I thought it was really cool that she was the same age as I am now when she moved to France with her husband.
Right.
Which was 27.
17. Let's just keep going now.
Yeah.
We don't need
Yeah.
to talk about numbers.
Do you have ideas now?
You're going to France, you're going to Cordon Bleu, and you're going to learn to be a French chef.
I don't think so. No.
Dreams dashed.
Oh. And I thought it was interesting that she was always a rebel.
Mm.
Her very, her wealthy Republican family.
Yeah.
Her father wanted her to marry some banker
Right.
from the same social circles, and she was like, no, not for me. I want to travel. So she signed up to work during World War II in the service, and she went overseas, and then she wanted to travel, and she ended up meeting her husband and marrying this guy who her father thought
Did not
was beneath
like.
her,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
became a Democrat. And it was like she was a rebel every time she made a decision.
Yeah, and I had to add, my dad's from here, but she meets a husband in Ceylon, Sri Lanka, and that's where my
Yeah.
dad is from. And she met him in the year that my dad was born. So I was like, oh, that is so cool, 1944.
Oh, that is so cool. I love that connection. That's great.
And they didn't like each other at first, which I thought was funny.
Fantastic.
And their love story was so central to this whole movie.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then they get married, and then they move off to France. And this is where her culinary story starts, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
She decided to enroll in the Cordon Bleu cooking school. If I remember correctly from the movie, they said it's the oldest cooking school in Paris.
Right. And she was the only woman, or was
one
she
of
one
few.
of very,
One
very
of
few?
few.
Yeah.
One of very few. It's a super male dominated. I mean, we've read enough and heard enough about chefs in the last few decades and how it's still
Right.
hard for women to get through.
And she was good at it. I
She
think
was
they
good
didn't
at
take her
it.
seriously. And then they discovered she actually did really well at it.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
she was kind of flamboyant,
Mhm.
right? I mean, we all kind of, if you've watched Julia Child shows, growing up, I know we did in Singapore, we all remember her for her voice.
Yes.
Yes. There have been many impersonations happening in my house.
Yes.
This
Yeah.
weekend.
Yeah.
Even the kids, and they don't even know who she is.
Yeah.
And they're imitating, and it's
Yeah.
quite funny.
She had such a great personality.
She did. Definitely comes across like that. She starts writing a cookbook.
And I really love the way that they filmed how she was testing out recipes 2 and 3 times. And did anyone notice that she was making a sauce that kept breaking and she kept dumping it in the garbage?
Yes.
I was like, oh.
Erin, I totally thought about you at that point. I was like, oh my God, Julia Childs is Erin. Erin is like the reincarnate.
With the mayonnaise. If you haven't heard from season 1, go back and find the mayonnaise episode when Erin had a very hard time making it from scratch with the whisk, just as Julia was doing.
Yeah, and she kept going over and over and over. Yeah.
Well, she was such a good, she'd just laugh at herself, right? She'd be like, oh, here we go
Yeah.
again.
Yeah. Tireless,
Yeah.
but with a good sense of humor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thing that makes the recipe book distinct is that she writes in such detail with the recipe. And you had borrowed the book, and we took a look at
Yeah.
the book, and there is a
Wow.
lot of information for each recipe.
Yeah.
And it took
12
years to
I
write
know.
the book.
That's dedication.
Yes. I think I said to you guys, like, it's a damn miracle anybody ever bought it, because it's so detailed. It's
So
not
detailed.
easy. That's not
No.
easy cooking. And this is at a time when people were microwaving frozen dinners and eating Spam.
Yes.
Yeah. Everything was en gelée.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, gelée.
They were putting everything in
Like,
Jell-O.
they talked
and-
about this Jell-O dish with marshmallow and carrot. Have you, no.
Okay,
I've
that's
ne-
not
no.
actually that bad.
No, come on.
We
No,
all
it's
love
not.
sunshine salad.
I love sunshine salad.
There's a name for this too?
No, it doesn't have marshmallow in it. The sunshine salad is the carrot one that I made for
Okay,
you
that one
guys
was
that
good,
time.
but there was no marshmallows
No,
in
but
it.
I don't think marshmallow in Jell-O is so bad.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I grew up with that stuff. Some of them are good, but not when you put like meat and
Like the bouffe gelée.
Yeah, yeah.
No.
But that was the thing to do at the time.
So I mean, it's not surprising people wanted to eat something different.
Or someone wanted to cook with a little bit of pride in
Yeah.
and actually know how to do it. That's,
Yeah.
Right?
But imagine if this is like your first foray into cooking and you look at this book that's like, I don't know,
Yeah.
like 5 inches thick.
Yeah.
Like no pictures.
No
Nothing
pictures.
pretty in there.
Yeah.
Just tiny font, typewritten. Like I looked up hollandaise. There were 4 pages of
Yeah.
text before you even get to the recipe,
Yeah.
all about how to make it. I was like, forget it. Close. I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
I'm amazed that it sold like.
But I think if you didn't have that guidance, what's made me a better cook over time is reading those books that are like textbooks. Like it very much reminds me of Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat, right? What would you say? Like 70% of it is just text?
Yeah,
is
but
text.
with all those nice little
Pictures.
diagrams
yes, I
and
like all the drawings.
illustrations.
I think that does help.
I mean, when she came back to the United States and she started up the French Chef, can you imagine
love those
cooking
stories.
live on
Yeah.
tape like that? Can you imagine cooking and having like 7 people sitting at your feet and not
Passing
being
you
able to
things?
move?
Yeah. So let's talk about what that was. So there were no cuts, there were no edits at that time
No.
for this cooking show, so that she had to do it right.
No, she didn't have to. She just kept
That's right.
redoing. She'd just be like, oh, whoops, the chicken fell on the floor.
The chicken
Pick it up and keep going.
Over and over again every week,
Yeah.
which is quite amazing.
Yeah, it was really amazing. And they had to take the studio to this location every time. So they had to fill up their big bus with all their cameras and their mics and all their equipment and pack
They
into
talked
this little
about
space.
huffing it up like the
fire
fire
escape.
escape somewhere. Yeah.
It was amazing.
And the husband gets involved in this, and he really is a big help too.
Yeah.
He scrubs the pans.
Yeah.
Between
Sharpens the
And he
takes.
holds
knives.
the cue cards.
Yeah. I thought that was really
Aw.
cute.
Yeah.
They were
I-
really meant for each other.
I really loved the relationship throughout it. I thought
Yeah.
it was so special.
Very special. Yeah.
They talked about it quite a bit too. It was rare for a man to let the woman take over in terms of career.
And what did she say was her 3
Oh gosh.
her secret to a good relationship with a man? The 3 F's: feed your man, flatter your man. I'll give you a good guess what the 3rd F was. I'm not gonna say it, but put it together. You guys can do it.
I think she
listeners.
was just very, like, what you see is what you get.
Yep.
Very straightforward person.
I wrote down a quote of something she said, and I thought it was so perfect.
Oh, there's so many good quotes.
There are, but she said this, and I thought it was so nice. But she says, "Food is love. It gets everyone together."
Oh, the Julia.
I really loved that quote.
Oh, and another quote. Women weren't taken seriously as anything other than brood mares.
Brood mares.
And she was like, and I didn't want to do that. So that's when she joined up the war. Remember she said she wanted to be a spy? I love
Yeah.
that.
That's right.
Which cracked me up because she said, I thought I'd be really good at it because nobody would suspect someone so tall. I'm like,
That's right.
lady, you can't blend in. Like, you need to blend in if you're going to be a spy.
She has no blending. No.
Not her voice, not her person.
Nothing.
Yeah.
I thought it was hilarious that she thought, I'd make a pretty good spy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think she thought nobody would suspect that she would have been picked to be a spy.
Well, that is true.
Yeah.
That much is true.
In this documentary, there is an actual recipe on how to make potatoes.
It's like they show it very quickly, the perfect roast potatoes.
That's right.
So I was like, okay, I took notes and I made potatoes last night. So the method is you peel, chop, and blanch your potatoes in boiling water. Then you score the surface of them with a fork to kind of rough them up. And then you roast them in your drippings, say if you're making a roast or something. And apparently they're like foolproof, best potatoes you've ever had in your life.
Yeah.
And I was like, these potatoes are just potatoes.
So
I'm really sorry
You
to
made
say,
them.
but I made them and we were not wowed. I mean, I hadn't made like a fancy, I don't know what kind of roast maybe Julia was making with her potatoes. I had baked some chicken, and so I didn't have maybe the right drippings.
Right.
I had some bacon fat
Yeah.
in the freezer, so I put that in there, and I thought they'd be
Ooh.
pretty tasty. They were just roast potatoes. They weren't like amazing. In fact, I think they're better with peels on when I
Oh,
roast a
okay.
potato, personally.
Oh.
I don't know. Aaron, you didn't try the potatoes at your house?
I did not get around
No.
to trying the potatoes.
Erin's stuck in her room. She's not allowed
know.
out.
Yeah, I don't have a hot plate yet in here. I will go forth and try some potato making. I have a huge amount of potatoes that came out of my parents' garden this year. We always plant a couple rows with them, and they delivered them to us, and it is a ridiculous amount of potatoes this year. So if you didn't think they were awesome the first time, Heather, we can just keep trying and trying and try, because we have endless amounts of potatoes this year.
And 12 years later, they get it right. No, I'm just joking.
Well, we're going to do this just like Julia did, again and again and again.
Okay, and also, I mean, a Julia Child recipe cannot be that simple. I was like, and it wasn't Julia giving the recipe. It was like her friend or somebody who said, this is how Julia made potatoes.
Right.
Wow.
But then I think it also had to do with the beef roast, right? That beautiful beef roast that was there, right? So
probably.
That was probably the flavoring.
So what did you do, Sarah?
Okay, so this is a really not a bad idea. It was just a last minute idea. So yesterday I decided I was going to do bourguignon. Stop
bourguignon. On the way here, she was practicing all the way here. Bourguignon.
See, now I'm even saying it incorrectly.
It's really funny. And she's like, is that right? And I'm like, I don't even want to correct her because I want her to say it however she's going to say it.
That was the first dish she made on the French Chef show, correct?
That's right.
So I decided to do it yesterday. It was kind of a last minute thing. My daughter and I run to the store and we get all these things. And I looked up the recipe, and this is from her book, and you can get it at rvclibrary.org. And yes, it's extremely long. At first, I read the first page and I went, okay, that doesn't look, there's a second page. Oh, there's a third page. And so I asked my husband if he was going to be okay with eating dinner at 10, and he was okay with it. And I started doing it. And honestly, it was fantastic. I did, in my tiredness, burn my fingers really badly.
Oh, no.
And I thought, whatever, she did something to her finger in the show. That's right. I'm like, whatever. If she can go through the rest of the show like that, I can do it. And it was an extremely fantastic stew. And we had it with mashed potatoes. I think another great way to eat that would be with pasta. Just look up this recipe. It's not complicated. It's just a lot to read. That's what is scary about it or daunting about it. But after you get over that, you're okay. In this recipe, I would recommend using more mushrooms. That was the star. It was fantastic.
Ooh.
So good. So good. Try it. It's not hard.
Well, I think Julia had the gift of gab.
Well, she had to keep talking through that filming that never had a break.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think she was really good at explaining everything when it came to putting down her recipes.
Yeah, and it comes through in the recipe, and I think it works. It's just we're not used to seeing recipe books without pictures as a reference, and honestly, the words make up for it.
And maybe it's not so bad, because how many times have I, in particular, had a recipe and been like, I don't understand the description. Like, I don't know what it's actually supposed to be.
What was
like the weird shaggy dough.
Shaggy dough.
Or like
sand ribbons.
The sand ribbons. I'm like, I mean, a photo does help for sure, but also just maybe a little more explanation about how you get to shaggy dough.
Yeah.
Then I'd feel confident that I was there, even if I didn't know what it looked like.
This is a great, great movie. And the other thing that I noticed about, so then I'm watching the movie.
Yes.
And I'm watching it at night, and I'm going, oh my God, how are these pictures, even when the video was done in black and white, how is the deliciousness of this dish coming through without any apps, any filters, right? I mean, it looked good. It made you want to go start cooking. It made you.
Well, I don't know.
No? I thought it was delicious. The
black and white chicken or something. I was like,
the duck.
The one where she plays with the chicken.
Yeah, maybe it was a duck. I don't know.
I think it was the duck in the pot.
It didn't look particularly appetizing.
No, was it the goose, you mean?
The goose? Oh, yeah. Because here's all the whatever, and what's missing? The goose. And she pulls out this goose out of the oven, and it doesn't really look appetizing because it's in black and white. I'm glad you thought so.
I did. I was hungry the whole time. But, I can sit in that closet and start a podcast with you, and then my tummy goes. So we know what happens to me and food. Just say the word food, and I'm hungry.
People were tuning in. Yeah. Everybody wanted to watch. Every week, they were like, what's she going to cook this time? And they loved it. And it was in black and white. It didn't look fancy.
Yeah.
You couldn't really see.
That big fish. Remember that big fish on the table? She's like, today we're we're cooking with, and then she has like a cleavers up and everything, and
Yeah.
it's like fish, and this big, massive fish on the table. It was hilarious. I'm like, what are you doing with all that fish?
I remember seeing that scene before they explained what it was, and I was like, what is
What
on
is
her
it?
counter?
That's what I was thinking. I'm like, what is that meat?
You can't even always tell what it is she's cooking.
No, but she explained.
Yeah. There's also like they created footage of food to put in the
Yes.
film. It's not just black and white old
No,
Julia's food.
that's
It's
right.
like really mouth-watering
Yeah.
close-ups of yummy food as well.
Oh, the way
Yeah,
they
it's
did the
very
credits at
mouth-watering.
the end. Did you not
Yeah,
watch all the
yeah.
credits because
Yeah.
the food?
Yes, yeah.
It was
Yeah.
so fresh and like,
Yeah.
yum.
Yeah, absolutely. We're waving.
There's someone
to
at the
someone.
window with a camera.
Yeah.
But I love that, like in a culture where food was becoming less central, and yet she could get how many people, to tune in every week to watch her cook. I think it just really explains how important food and cooking and that family feeling is to all of us.
Because Julia really, she paved the way for, celebrity chefs. There were no celebrity chefs, really. And for people like us who are trying to learn stuff and just trial and error. And here we are talking about cooking. Would we have been doing that had not someone like Julia Child
Exactly. Good point.
set it in motion, right? Like,
So at this point, were there no other chefs on TV?
I don't know. I don't know if they said specifically, but definitely not women, I don't think.
Right.
I don't think there was much on TV for cooking at that point. They said that even under the educational TV that it was all very...
It was men talking about
Man-dominated,
science.
power-dominated. Yeah.
And it was all very scientific. I think she came through at a time when it wasn't expected. And I think she started a whole revolution in the world, or in our North American world, for a love of food.
Because they did say at one point that book was not known in France.
No.
It wasn't even published in French.
No.
It was written for Americans and published in American, sold in America, and that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that scene of Julia where she had all the chickens lined up.
Oh,
Do you
the
remember
Yes.
sisters.
And they were
all
dancing.
the chickens, and here's the laying, and here's the baking, and here's the whatever, and she had them, and she was like smacking them and like
my
going
God,
down the
so
line.
funny.
And here's the one we're doing today, the roaster, and she was making it dance, and my God, she was hilarious. And then when she went on to do like late night shows and stuff, when she was older, and she went to do like, I don't know, Leno or
Right.
Johnny Carson, and like all those, she would cook with them, and
And Jacques Pepin. Yeah.
And Jacques Pepin, I love him so much.
Yeah.
He's one of my favorites. Seeing him when he's younger and cooking with her, they all feel like my friends because I've listened and heard them so much.
And I don't want to give this part away. I think all you listeners should really catch this movie. But there is a point where Julia and Jacques cook, and something happens in the kitchen, and he kind of fixes the situation so that she can continue on with the show until she gets to the hospital, right?
Yeah. But the two of them together,
so
just
cute.
like professionals.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
just, it's the show must go on, and they just made it happen.
Made it happen. Yeah. Yeah, definitely catch the movie.
Yeah. And I love the way she organized her kitchen.
Yes.
And I don't know about you guys, but I finally lost it when she was touring her kitchen and talking about how they had bought those pans in France.
Yeah.
That was it for me.
And they were nice. Did you see how she kept her pans? She kept them well.
That's because she had Paul to scrub them.
That's right.
For her all those years.
Good old Paul. She had an omelet pan. Now I want an omelet
What
pan.
is an omelet pan?
I don't know, but
exactly?
I want one.
Yeah, I know. The way she
And the
just
way
sort of
she made
shook it
that
up.
omelet,
Yes.
it was like instant and shook. And
Yeah.
I want to learn how to make an omelet. I'm now going to I'm going to go through at least 50 eggs trying to figure out how to make an omelet properly because...
But I think you need the pan and then it just happens.
Yeah. You need the special pan.
Yeah,
if you have
I'll
the
find
pan,
an omelet pan.
you can do it. Check your expectations.
All right.
But I still want to see you try.
I'm gonna work on this. I will commit here and now to trying to figure out an omelet because that was when we watched
was
that I had
crazy.
no idea what that was.
What about you, Heather? Do you think you're gonna try
Take on Julia's recipes?
Do you think you're gonna get that book again out of the library? Now I feel like I should have given it a second chance. When I saw it, I was really tired. And
it was very overwhelming.
Yeah, and I was
the
like,
book is very overwhelming. I would maybe try the bourguignon because I have made bourguignon before.
Can you say that again?
Bourguignon.
Thank you.
I have made it before with the boeuf. I didn't say the boeuf.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it was Julia's recipe because I don't remember it being like a 5-hour.
I think you got it out of your bisouille brioche.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Right.
Laura Bradbury's French book. Very tasty though. It was very good. So I would make something like that because I feel familiar with it. But I think a lot of like those sauces, and when I looked at the hollandaise and stuff, I was like, no. I don't know. I don't feel inspired. I feel a little overwhelmed.
Oh, I'm not whisking any more sauces together.
You're not whisking.
No, I'm not whisking another dang sauce. No.
I hear you. Julia would have used a KitchenAid. She would have if she had it. She'd have been all over KitchenAid.
Well, yeah, because later on in the movie, they actually show her using different.
She had a processor.
Yeah,
a food processor, like it was a spaceship or something. The way she talked about it, and you could use a food processor. That's so fun. It's like watching your grandma learn new stuff, you know?
And her family was so proud of her. The ones that were speaking about her.
She seemed like she was everybody's favorite auntie.
Yeah. Yeah. And she was the shortest one of the 3 kids.
Yes. At 6'3".
Yeah, at 6'3", she was the shortest one. Yeah.
What a shrimp.
So crazy.
Yeah, and so maybe we should talk about CIFF a little bit. They have this festival every year. How long have they been doing this
22 years.
22 years. This year is a little different because of, precautions that we have to take, but they have a great lineup of movies, including Julia, and you can watch it in person or you can get tickets online and you can watch it from home.
Which is what we did.
Yep.
And you guys know I'm not a big movie person. Sorry, I'm on CIFF, and I'm not a huge movie buff. But as I was browsing initially when we had kind of put our name in to do this podcast, I was thinking, what would we even talk about? And I started looking at the lineup when it came out, and I thought, wow, there's so much here that I actually would want to watch. Yeah. And I'm not even like a big movie watcher, but I definitely am going to
catch a few.
Watch a few because I can watch it from home, which I love.
Yeah.
And if you don't finish it, because I tend to fall asleep when I put the TV in front.
Well, yeah, TV that's right. There you go.
Especially when Sarah mixes you the drinks.
Well, I mean, really, she's knocking me out with the strong drinks. But you have something like 24 hours, or maybe it was more than 24 hours to watch it. So if you don't finish it in one day, you can watch the rest of it the next day, and that appeals to me a lot. So
sounds great. You guys should check it out.
It goes until what day? Oh, October 3rd. It's right on the glass.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. October. So it runs until October 3rd, and this episode comes out on the 30th, so there's still a little time for people to... So make yourself a drink, tune into CIFF, find your film. There's tons of stuff. There's fiction and documentaries and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Enjoy, guys.
And that's a wrap.
Today's episode is brought to you by Betsy Box, delivering healthy, naturally raised meat and seafood right to your door. Betsy is a small team in Alberta that delivers local food straight from the farm to you.
Choose from Alberta grass-fed and finished ground beef to sustainable Atlantic salmon from BC. You can order on your schedule, whether it's a one-time order or a regular subscription to your favorite Betsy Box. All conveniently flash frozen and portioned, so you always have healthy meat and seafood ready to cook up a storm.
Go to BetsyBox.com to order yours now. Plus, APN listeners can use the promotion code APN10 to save 10% off your first order. That's code APN10. Enter it on checkout at BetsyBox.com to save 10% off your first order. And now for the fine print. We at Three Kitchens gratefully acknowledge we are telling these stories in the traditional territories of the Treaty 7 nations in southern Alberta and the Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3. We honor the rich tradition of oral storytellers on this land who have come before us. You can find pictures and recipe links on Instagram and Facebook at Three Kitchens Podcast. If you like and subscribe on your podcast player, that helps more people find us.
Bon appetit!
Bon appetit!
Bon appetit!